As of today, we are 9 points ahead in the opinion polls. We have Keir Starmer, our socialist Prime Minister, is terrified. Do you know, he mentioned me 16 times today in a speech.
Picture this. You are a farmer in the Cotswolds, getting ready for Boxing Day like your family has done for generations. The hunt is meeting at the local pub. Neighbours are gathering. Children are excited. Horses are being saddled up. And then suddenly the government bursts through the door and says, actually, all of this is now illegal. You are all criminals. Happy Christmas. Welcome to Labour's latest crusade against rural Britain, where a perfectly legal, harm-free countryside tradition is being branded as dangerous criminal activity that must be stamped out immediately. Nigel Farage has absolutely exploded over this, calling Labour authoritarian control freaks. And honestly, when you look at what they are proposing, it is rather hard to argue with him. Quick favor, if you are loving this countryside chaos, hit that subscribe button and smash the bell icon. Over 94% of you have not yet. It is free, takes literally 2 seconds, and genuinely means the world to us. Cheers if you did. Right, back to Labour's war on wellies and tradition. So what exactly is happening here? Labour ministers are pledging to abolish Boxing Day hunts by banning trail hunting. Now, if you are not familiar with trail hunting, let me explain. After Tony Blair's government banned fox hunting back in 2004, which was itself enormously controversial, the countryside adapted. They created trail hunting, where hunt dogs chase after an artificial scent, a pre-laid trail that mimics a fox's scent, rather than chasing an actual living animal. No foxes are harmed. No animals are killed. It is essentially a cross-country pursuit where dogs follow a scent trail through the countryside. Think of it as orienteering for dogs, if you will. It is legal. It has been legal for 2 decades, and it is a beloved tradition in rural communities across Britain. But apparently, that is not good enough for Labour. Despite trail hunting being completely legal and involving no harm to animals whatsoever, the government now wants to ban it entirely. And this is where Nigel Farage comes roaring in like a man who has had absolutely enough of urban politicians telling rural communities how to live their lives. Farage, who attends his annual hunt in Kent every year, did not hold back. He fumed. So now Labour want to ban trail hunting. You might as well ban walking dogs in the countryside as they chase rabbits, hares, deer, and foxes. Labour are authoritarian control freaks. Now, Farage has a point here, and it is actually quite a good one. If you have ever walked a dog in the countryside, you will know that dogs chase things. It is what they do. They are dogs. They see a rabbit, their instincts kick in, and off they go. They spot a deer in the distance, and suddenly your peaceful country walk turns into a frantic sprint as you try to recall your dog who is absolutely convinced they can catch that deer despite being a Labrador with dodgy hips. If the logic behind banning trail hunting is that dogs might chase wild animals, then you would have to ban dog walking entirely. It is a reductio ad absurdum that exposes just how ridiculous the proposed ban actually is. Tim Borner, chief executive of the Countryside Alliance, has been even more scathing. The Countryside Alliance represents rural communities and has been fighting Labour's anti-countryside policies for decades. Borner said, animal rights activists have spent 20 years making increasingly spurious claims about the legal activity of hunts without any evidential basis. Trail hunting is a legal activity which supports hundreds of jobs and is central to many rural communities. Hundreds of jobs. This is not just about traditional sport. This is about people's livelihoods. Hunt staff, kennel workers, farriers, saddlers, landowners who rent out their land for hunting, all of these people depend on trail hunting economically. Banning it does not just end the tradition, it destroys jobs and damages rural economies that are already struggling. Borner continued, absolutely not pulling his punches. Especially after the attack on family farms, the government should be focusing on addressing issues that actually help rural communities thrive, rather than pursuing divisive policies that hinder them. That reference to the attack on family farms is about Labour's inheritance tax changes, which will force many family farms to be sold off to pay enormous tax bills. Rural Britain is already feeling besieged by this government, and now they are coming after another fundamental part of countryside life. It is like Labour looked at rural communities and thought, what can we do to alienate these people even more thoroughly? Here is where the government's own statistics become absolutely damning. According to their own figures, more people have been convicted under the Hunting Act than any other piece of wildlife legislation. Read that again. More than any other wildlife law. The Hunting Act is working. It is being enforced. People who break it are being prosecuted and convicted. And crucially, only a tiny proportion of those convictions relate to registered trail hunts. The vast majority of prosecutions are for other offenses, illegal hunting by people who are not following the trail hunting system. So the legal framework is working, enforcement is happening, and registered trail hunts are largely complying with the law. What exactly is a problem that needs fixing? Tim Borner answered that question rather directly. However unjustified it is, the law clearly works. There is absolutely no reason to revisit it other than Labour's continuing obsession. Labour's continuing obsession with the countryside and rural life is genuinely fascinating in the worst possible way. For a party that claims to represent working people, they seem absolutely determined to alienate working people who happen to live in rural areas. Farmers, hunt workers, countryside residents, none of these people seem to matter to Labour's urban-focused government. It is culture war politics at its most blatant, and rural communities are paying the price. Now, the other side of this argument, because fairness matters, comes from left-wing animal rights activists who claim that foxes are still being killed by dogs during trail hunting. They argue that trail hunting is being used as a cover for illegal fox hunting, that the scent trails are deliberately laid in areas where foxes are known to be, and that when dogs inevitably encounter real foxes, hunters turn a blind eye. However, and this is crucial, there is little evidence to support these claims. Anecdotal reports, yes, accusations, certainly, but actual hard evidence of systematic illegal hunting under the guise of trail hunting? Remarkably thin on the ground, especially given that animal rights activists have been watching these hunts like hawks for 20 years. Labour's Animal Welfare Minister, Baroness Heyman, has claimed there is evidence that trail hunting is used as a smokescreen by hunters, which she says is not acceptable. But notice the language there. She claims there is evidence, but does not actually present it. She says it is being used as a smokescreen, but does not provide statistics on how often this supposedly happens or how many convictions there have been. It is assertion without substantiation, which in policymaking terms is utterly inadequate. You cannot ban a legal activity that employs hundreds of people and is central to rural communities based on vague claims of misuse, especially when your own government statistics show the existing law is working. The ISPCA has predictably waded into this debate, with Thomas Schultz-Jagow welcoming the announcement. He claimed, every year, wild animals, pets and horses suffer whilst being chased and killed by packs of hounds on trail hunts while rural communities endure antisocial behavior and intimidation. That is quite an extraordinary set of claims. Wild animals being killed on trail hunts, despite trail hunting being specifically designed to avoid this, pets being killed, horses suffering, and rural communities enduring antisocial behavior and intimidation? These are serious allegations, and if they were true, there would be prosecutions, convictions, and hard evidence. But where is it? Schultz-Jagow continued, there is mounting evidence that, since the Hunting Act came into force in 2004, legal trail hunting is being used as a smokescreen to illegally hunt with dogs. This has made enforcement of the Hunting Act extremely challenging for the authorities. Again, notice the language. Mounting evidence. That phrase does a lot of work. What evidence specifically? How much evidence? Evidence from where? And if enforcement is extremely challenging, how come the government's own statistics show more convictions under the Hunting Act than any other wildlife legislation? That does not sound like enforcement is particularly challenging. That sounds like enforcement is actually working reasonably well. The truth, uncomfortable as it may be for both sides, is probably somewhere in the middle. Are there some people who abuse trail hunting as cover for illegal hunting? Probably. Are the vast majority of trail hunts conducted legally and properly? Almost certainly. Is banning the entire practice because of a few bad actors proportionate or sensible? Absolutely not. That is like banning all driving because some people speed, or banning all alcohol because some people drink and drive. You target the lawbreakers. You enforce the existing rules more strictly. You do not ban an entire legal activity for millions of law-abiding people. What makes this particularly galling is the timing and context. Rural Britain is already reeling from Labour's inheritance tax changes that will devastate family farms. Farmers have been protesting in their thousands, warning that the policy will destroy British agriculture and food security. And Labour's response? Let us also ban their Boxing Day traditions while we are at it. Let us kick them when they are down. Let us show rural communities that we neither understand nor care about their way of life. The political tone deafness is genuinely staggering. Nigel Farage's description of Labour's authoritarian control freaks resonates because it captures something real. There is a genuine sense in rural Britain that an urban, metropolitan political class is imposing its values and priorities on communities it does not understand and does not want to understand. Trail hunting does not happen in Islington or Hackney. It happens in places like Gloucestershire, Leicestershire, and Kent. And politicians who represent urban constituencies, who have never set foot on a working farm or attended a country fair, are making decisions that fundamentally affect rural life. This is not really about foxes or animal welfare. If it were, Labour would focus on issues where animals are genuinely suffering: puppy farms, illegal dog fighting, animal trafficking. Instead, this is about cultural politics, about demonstrating to Labour's urban, progressive base that the party is serious about animal rights, even if that means alienating millions of rural voters. It is virtue signaling at the expense of rural communities, and those communities can see right through it. The economic impact of banning trail hunting would be significant. Hunt kennels employ staff year-round to care for hounds. Farriers shoe horses specifically for hunting. Country hotels and pubs rely on Boxing Day hunt meets for significant revenue. Land management often incorporates hunting, with farmers and landowners receiving income from hunt subscriptions. Saddlers, vets, feed suppliers, the economic ecosystem around countryside sports is substantial.